Hey there, Internet. This is the fourth video in this series about the basics of my faith. And in this video, we're going to try to answer the question, what is the law? Now, stay with me. You might have to watch this a couple times over. But it's very important that we understand this, because it kind of builds, everything else is built on this. So, let's recap. God created us in order to love us, but we turn from Him and refuse His desire for our lives. In order to show us His heart and make plain our sin, He gave us the law. In the beginning, the law was simple. It was something akin to don't eat the fruit from that tree. But then after the flood, it became you must not take another's life or eat an animal with its blood. This is paraphrased, of course. Over many more generations, it became known as the Torah, as the law. This was the law that God gave specifically to the children of Israel. The law, which is comprised of the Ten Commandments found in the book of Exodus 20:1-17, and other commandments given through Moses to the Israelites around 1400 BC. The law is truly not that complicated, yet no matter how simple a rule is, someone will inevitably break it. It is never necessary to break a moral rule. Often asked is the hypothetical question, would it be okay to steal in order to feed your family? But what isn't asked is, can you not work for the food? Can you not ask God for the food? Can you not ask your neighbor for the food? If so, it is never necessary to steal the food. And if you didn't ask those questions first, you did not truly want to answer the moral question. Beyond the being simple moral rules, there are two key purposes for the law. Through careful observation of the law, Israelites knew that they could expect their lives to prosper, and that, and this is in quotes, they may multiply greatly as the Lord God of their fathers has promised them. It's Deuteronomy 6:3. For the rest of the world, it serves a more instructive purpose. The law, as well as the record of Israel's attempt to live by it, recorded in the Old Testament, exists in order to make us aware of sin. The law outlines God's heart, His justice, His rules for interacting with each other and with Him. We can know that we are turning from Him when we see that we are turning from His law. The Israelites could never live by the law, so built into the law there is provision for breaking it. A person's sin would cause that spiritual death we spoke of 2 videos ago, which itself requires some sort of solution, but also justice requires that the sinner be punished. You see, sinning has dual effects. Less visibly, but more importantly, you are turning your spirit away from God, and therefore away from life. But there's also a more visible and yet less direct result. Think about this for a moment. God is the very definition of good and just. He cannot associate with anything that is not good or that is unjust. So a system had to exist which could justify, at least partially, the unjust, so that they could still receive His favor in their life. For the nation of Israel, the system had started with Adam and Eve in the spilling of the blood of animals to cover their sin. But by the time of the children of Israel, by the time they were established as a nation, it was this highly regulated system. The Israelites used animal sacrifice religiously to cover their sin. This is imperfect, though, causing a never-ending cycle of sin, followed by sacrifice, followed by sin, and on and on and on. The law is only part of the solution. It's sort of like step one. However, the law cannot change you. It cannot fix you. And in that, it can't keep you from breaking it. It can only make you aware of your own condition. It's like getting a blood test. If the test comes back positive for some disease, then you try to treat the symptoms of that disease. But the test itself cannot cure you. Every time we are confronted by the law, it shows us our sinful nature. Animal sacrifice was not a cure. It only treated the symptoms. These sins are still there inside of us, even after they are covered by animal sacrifice. In many ways, those sins become a part of us. The Israelites would spend their lives trying to keep the law, perhaps getting better at it as they got older, but still needing to cover each sin with animal sacrifice, never truly forgiven, only ever covered, so that God's wrath was not brought upon them in their lives. The law is good, but it is not a cure for the problem that our freedom creates. It only makes us more aware of our deficiencies and hopefully more able to accept that our way will fail us. And that acceptance is the beginning of God's cure for our deadly sin. So that since it is the beginning, the next question is, what is God's cure for our sin? And we'll answer that in video number 5. So stay tuned, Be safe, and I'll see you soon.